Well, going into 2012, there are a lot of things that are key to American agriculture, and ASTA obviously has to play a key role in that with our customers of all of our members. Farm Bill is going to be a major issue here in the U.S., and then as we look at how that policy moves forward because of budget initiatives in Washington, D.C., we have to play a key role in there to support our members across the board, whether it's the vegetable side of the industry or the grasses and forages for conservation and environment, or our row crops. So if we have to look at one thing, it's going to be that issue and the politics around the budget and its impact on agriculture in the U.S. Yeah, this year's annual meeting is really exciting for us. It's a great opportunity to come to Washington right before a major presidential election to talk about the issues that are important to the seed industry and the agriculture industry as a whole, and to really educate our legislators about what the seed industry is up to today, how we are innovating and bringing new varieties into the marketplace and new technology. So we're excited. We hope to see everybody in Washington in June to help us tell that story. Well, as we look at it from the vegetable and flower side, a lot of the issues that we're dealing with are international in nature, because so many of our products in this arena are produced in other countries and then imported back into the U.S., repackaged and then exported again, or some fashion of that type of a model. So those are import-export issues are major. The others that we look at are phytosanitary issues, and they have a pretty big impact on the ability of that movement of seed, both into the U.S. and into other countries. And another one that's key that we've all experienced in the last couple of years, especially in the media, is food safety. Because when somebody has an issue with food safety, they stop eating. And when people stop eating certain vegetables or fruits, then people stop buying seed to replace those. So it really does have a devastating effect. So we're trying to play a much more active role in that arena for with the produce side on food safety. And there's always a tie-in. It never fails that we end up seeing a media release where it tries to associate it back to seed, or in what we've seen most recently in alfalfa sprouts, they talk about alfalfa seed instead of alfalfa sprouts, so it automatically gets kind of tied back into the seed issues. And so that's a really sensitive issue as we go along, and we spend a great deal of time working with our colleagues and other organizations and seed groups to talk to the media about seed not being a carrier for these diseases, and making sure that we gather all of the information and scientific data that's out there to justify what our position is on behalf of the industry. From the phytosanitary issues, we continue to work really closely with NAPO in Canada, the U.S., and Mexico to work to essentially harmonize the requirements for pest risk analysis between the three countries, and then pest lists. And then expanding that out, we've had some good progress with our activities with the Seed Association of the Americas going into South America. We continue to focus a lot on Brazil because they're updating their pest lists all the time and making sure that they're scientifically sound in what they put out, because we found a lot of situations where they just put a list out without actually justifying why the list is there. So those are going to be key as we continue to see that increase in movement of seed from North and South America. We continue to move along with the issue of low-level presence and working with especially the South American countries, Brazil and Argentina. Between Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, and the U.S. and Canada, we produce 80% plus of all of the biotech crops globally. So working with them closely to help facilitate the issues on a global basis. So we all have a mutual interest in making sure that the acceptance is high in the international arena. Coexistence has become much more of a focus, especially in Washington, D.C. and the policy arenas after some of the more recent deregulations of certain products. And working closely with the U.S. government, the new AC-21 committee that Secretary Vilsack appointed to look at that issue of coexistence between conventional, organic, and biotech crops to ensure that there's not a negative impact on one or the other. And then what does the policy need to be? Because we all know that any of our systems are not 100%. Food production is not 100%. That's Mother Nature. You always have natural impacts on our production processes. So how do we make sure that those impacts are not negative to the standpoint of people losing market share or things like that. So that continues to be a hot item and will probably through this year. And hopefully we'll be able to have the right kind of impact and influence on that to anything comes out of that effort, the AC21 effort, is positive for the industry as a whole and doesn't negatively impact one sector or the other. Our main focus in the 2012 Farm Bill is on research and education. We've got some key parts that the Ag Research Service is absolutely vital to us on. It's the National Germplasm System, and then a lot of the research that they're doing in discovering specific disease resistance in various crops and the work that they do in interacting with our private company breeders and others. And so we need to make sure that ARS has the resources to be able to uphold and continue to propagate the national germplasm system as well as do the research that we need. So that's really our number one priority. After that, we work very closely with our colleagues, as I said earlier, in the conservation side to ensure that any policies that come out with respect to conservation are conducive to the seed industry that are involved in that arena. We work closely with our colleagues in the corn and soybean and cotton arenas, those various crops, to make sure that the policies that are passed in the Farm Bill that impact how many acres are planted and how they're treated are beneficial also to the seed side of the business. And then working closely with the vegetable side of the industry, where we look to make sure that they've got the appropriate resources to develop policies or do research to ensure that we can continue to provide seed products to them that will meet the marketplace demands that they see from the consumer. So we really have a hand in everything in all the production areas, but then we focus a great deal on the research side of what's going on in the marketplace. And that's one thing that we're going to continue to, we're actually ramping up our efforts in that arena.